The legend of the Choking Doberman goes as follows. A woman goes out for the evening with her friends. Upon her return, she is greeted by a pet Doberman choking in the hallway. Alarmed, she takes her dogs to the vet. The vet announces that he must perform a tracheotomy on the dog and he will call her when he has news. When the woman arrives home, the vet calls and tells her to leave the house at once. The dog was choking on 3 human fingers. The woman calls the police, who search the house. They discover the burglar hiding in a closet, passed out from blood loss caused by having 3 fingers bitten off. The precursors of this legend came from Bronbard's book that cites a fable about Lewin the Great and his loyal dog Gilbert as the oldest possible influence on the story. In the original of this legend, Llewellyn leaves his young son at home with Gilbert while on a hunting expedition. Upon his return, the dog greets him with a bloody face. Thinking that his dog has eaten his child, he immediately drew his sword and killed Gilbert. But when his son was soon found alive near the dead body of a wolf, revealing that Gilbert had saved his son from harm. On June 24, 1981, in the Phoenix News-Times, the first verifiable appearance of the legend occurred. From the article, it happened in Las Vegas. A woman returned from work and from her large dog, a Doberman, lying on the floor gasping for air. Concerned over the animal's welfare, she immediately loaded the pet into her car and drove him to the vet. According to the story, police arrived at her house and found an unconscious intruder lying in a closet. New Times learned of the story from an employee of a large industrial plant in the valley. He said he had gotten the story from third hand from another employee, who in turn had said he heard it from a woman whose relatives in Las Vegas knew the dog's owner. As of Friday, New Times was not available to nail down the identity of the Doberman's mistress. According to a spokesperson at the Las Vegas Sun, the paper, too, was very interested in breaking the story. Unfortunately, even though the story was all over Vegas last Thursday, the paper and police weren't able to dig up one shred of evidence to prove the incident ever occurred. The police are baffled, the Sun spokesman said. Like every legend, there are variations of it. The first for this is that the number of fingers from the throat varies, as well as their color. In many retellings, the race of the intruders are not specific. Sometimes the discovered digits are described as black or Mexican, adding a racist spin to the tale. In the variations of the story from the 1980s, the dog was commonly identified as a Doberman. By the 1990s, it was commonly more often depicted as a pit bull, reflecting shifts in the media portrayals of the breed at the time. Other variations of the story have included other dog breeds, usually portrayed as large or intimidating, except for a poodle in the Canadian television series Freaky Stories. The thief is usually discovered hiding in a closet, the bedroom, or the basement. In some tellings, he gets away from the house and is only brought to justice when his injuries force him to visit an emergency room. His missing fingers identified him as the culprit police are looking for. With some exceptions, the troubled dog owner is female, but the setting of the tale makes it very clear she lives alone. The dog's presence in the woman's life passes uncommented upon. Nothing of the dog's history or her reasons for keeping him are ever mentioned. Sometimes we are told that the dog was given to her by her father when she went off to college in a distant city, or that in the wake of their divorce, her lawyer recommended her getting a dog for protection. Here's another version of the legend. In 1997, somewhere in western New York or the chimney of PA, a woman went grocery shopping. When she came back home, the back door was open. She didn't think much about it. It was a small town where doors rarely get locked and neighbors are often stopped in. But when she got into that kitchen, she found her dog, a Rottweiler Shepherd or Doberman, on the floor in obvious distress. She loaded the dog into her truck and sped to the vet. The vet tells her to leave the dog and he'll call when he knows something. About an hour later, he calls and asks if she looked around her house. She hadn't, but puzzled, agrees to. Upstairs, in front of her jewelry chest, is a puddle of blood, and the room is a mess. Frightened, she asks the vet what's going on. He tells her to hang up and call the police immediately. He thinks her house has been broken into because the dog was choking on 2 or 3 or 4 human fingers. One of the elements of the story proves that this tale belongs in the realm of myth rather than in the world of reality. If the dog was choking and was taken to the animal hospital, the vet would immediately work on it. There would be no drop her off and I will work on him later, or with surgery being involved, the dog would probably have to stay at the vet overnight or multiple days. If the burglar fingers were discovered, the owner would have known about them before she left the clinic. The story feeds into the fear that a lot of people have, the threat of burglary and or a violent crime, especially with those taking place in homes that belong to people living alone, and crimes that are directed against women by men.